my gosh, there was nothing even comparable to it. Because when it came through that canyon, it was almost instantaneous. I've never seen a conflagration like that before in my life.
I could see the smoke, and it was red, and the air was so hot from it.
I don't remember the exact wind speed. I just know that the fire was going faster than we could catch it.
It's wildland season, another fire in the mountain, and I think nobody really knew the gravity of the event that was about to take place in our community.
In my career, I had never been involved in a multiple building loss. My name is Randy Redmond. At the point of the monument fire, I was the fire chief for the Sierra Vista Fire Department. It was obviously a long-term event, a substantial event. It started on a Sunday afternoon when we got called up for the initial assignment. Fry, Sierra Vista, and Palominas responded initially because it was very dry and we knew we didn't have all resources there. And as the fire made it up the backside of the Huaychucas out by Monument Road, it started to get away, and we had all the resources from the county coming in to help out. We were able to save all the homes as it came around the edge of the Huaychucas and made it up to, by the end of the day, about the peak where the cross was at. At that point, we had decided we needed additional resources because it was so dry and windy and it was difficult. And so we called in for accessory state resources, but as everybody remembers, there was a lot of fires going on in the state at that time. So the teams that were available were not real proficient or schooled in our fuels. They were schooled in large timber fires. And so we got a team that came in that knew timber, but didn't know high desert.
Mark Savage, I'm the fire chief. I was a battalion chief assigned to C shift. So I was actually on duty at our station off of Yaqui the day that it started. Got called in early afternoon. I responded as part of the initial response with Palominas and the U.S. Forest Service, I think just after noon. We actually responded on a Type 6 engine, which is a brush truck. Down, at least when we started responding, we couldn't see anything. We went down 92 till it turned east. We hit Coronado Memorial Road, and about that time is when we could see the smoke coming off. We made access through Forest Lane, and we're actually right on the border road with the fire moving north of that. We had had some pretty dry weather. I think it was a red flag warning for that day, which means that the humidity's down, temperature's up, and the wind is up. So we started out when we came on shift at 8 with a heightened sense of concern. It was strong winds for the entire week. I want to say it was basically 7 to 10 days of red flag conditions.
My name is Brian Jones. I'm the fire chief for Sierra Vista Fire and Medical Services, and at the time of the monument fire, I was a captain with Sierra Vista Fire and Medical. It's one of those events that those of us who've been here a while think about, and where were you on the day the monument fire broke out? And I can remember being at Fire Station 3 in a class and just hearing about the fire, and then myself and Captain Wright walked outside and saw a huge plume of smoke to the south. And we immediately got in one of our staff vehicles and headed out south. And from that point on, the next really like 10 days were pretty much a blur of just chaos, really.
And in addition to the wind, it was also, at least when we were on Border Road, it was also moving upslope pretty quick. So when we got to the Border Monument Road, we realized that we wouldn't be able to catch it there. For a minute, we thought that it might hang up. There's kind of a rocky bluff there on the east side. We thought that it might hang up in the rocks, but it didn't. And as soon as it made it around the corner, it was off to the races.
Hi, I'm Adam Curtis. I'm the Public Information Officer for the City of Sierra Vista, and back in 2011, I was the City and Schools reporter for the Herald Review. I actually remember I was eating ice cream or yogurt with my now wife, Beatrice Richardson, who was then photographer for the Sierra Vista Herald. So we actually saw the smoke on the mountain right about the same time. She got a text from Melissa Marshall, who was a photographer for the Herald as well, that she was being sent out to get photos of the fire. In that moment, didn't think a lot of it. We kind of were, wondering how big of a deal it might be, but then, kind of went along with our day, having no idea that by the time we get down to the office on Monday, things were getting much serious. And then by Tuesday, structures were being burned in Ash Canyon, and we were just living in a completely different world, it felt like, honestly. But I do remember being in the office and listening to the scanner traffic as then Fry Fire Chief Bill Miller was calling for assets in advance of what he saw would be a big push from the fire. Because at that point they had learned the fire behavior that it would kind of progress up in the mountains and then the high winds would shoot it down the next canyon. So he was requesting assets in preparation for the fire breaking through the lines that he kind of saw it would happen. I was hearing that going on, and then all of a sudden it was clear that it was happening and they didn't have everything they needed to stop it. And these fires, when they burn with this intensity, they actually start to generate their own weather. So at that point, it's like when they shoot down the canyon, one person described it as putting their thumb over a water hose. It goes from kind of a steady stream to just shooting down. And hearing the scanner traffic shift from trying to prepare for that to it happening was terrifying in a way, because at least one of those days, I remember being here with Melissa, one of our photographers who lived in Hereford, and her home was not that far away from where it was crossing the highway. So I remember sitting on the floor in the office with the scanner, just listening with her, and her wondering if she's going to have a home to come back to. And honestly, me sitting there wondering, at what point do the pre-evacuation zones come to neighborhoods in Sierra Vista? And at what point do we feel like it's going to actually threaten east towards the San Pedro River? Because I think they extended evacuation all the way east of San Pedro River at that point, from what I remember. So that day was very terrifying, honestly.
My name is Angela Doherty. I purchased the property in 1979. That Sunday when it started, I was hearing about it on the news and everything, and it started down in Palominas area, and the firefighters were a little overwhelmed. And we were hoping they'd get it out, because I've lived and there's been fires all along. Well, this particular fire, though, the clouds and the smoke from the smoke clouds were just getting very thick, and then I heard it was getting out of control. And by Monday, I was really getting fearful that it was going to eventually get close to where I lived. Well, Monday I started kind of packing things up, deciding what do I want to keep if I have to leave. My husband came home from work on Tuesday, and I said, well, do you think we're going to have to evacuate? And he says, well, I've lived here all these years and never had to, so we'll probably be all right. Well, I said, I'm still going to keep on packing. So I packed up photo albums, pictures, my mother's dishes, things like that were sentimental to me. I started packing everything up, and we started loading them into our pickup truck that had a shell on it, camper shell. Then by Tuesday evening, we were on pre-evac.
The fact that it started around noon only added to that. The fact that it was windy, especially once we turned the corner and saw the plume coming up, again, gave us some concern.